Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lunatics Radio Hour podcast. I am beyond thrilled to be sitting here finally after many years of being internet friends with Courtney Eastman of the Ghoul Guide. Welcome to the podcast, Courtney.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. Your Instagram account honestly is like, I feel like my portal into the world of the paranormal, which I'm only an imposter and observer in. And your content is so engaging and you go to like all the places that I want to go to. And I'm so thrilled to be talking to you finally.
I know. It's been like almost 3 years now. And this is like our face to face. I love it.
It's wild. It's wild. But I also love Instagram for bringing new friends. So many of the great people we know are from Instagram, which is amazing.
Honestly, that's like how I met half of my friend group that I have today was really just Instagram, like us DMing each other and then like jumping on like investigations or like going to events together. And it all just kind of all happened naturally.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't follow you, I believe, I'm quoting, that you sort of describe yourself as a paranormal travel blogger. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I call it like a haunted travel blogger.
Okay.
I love going out there and sharing the haunted history within some of these places. I grew up in Western New York, so we have a very rich haunted history. We just have rich history here in general.
Yeah.
There was a lot of tales and stuff that I love, and, just growing up, I wanted to share the stories. And I also wanted to share some of the locations that I've always just been, like, fascinated by, like Waverly Hills or, like Rolling Hills. All those places. So it all just kind of like blended in together. And I just thought haunted travel blogger was like the easiest way to like put it all together.
Yeah, it's a perfect summary. So you spend a lot, especially in the warmer months, the majority of your weekends, it feels like traveling to all of these locations and investigating them, right?
Yeah. I think this year I logged like 13,000 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Between March and the like end of November.
Wow. And being in Western New York is kind of like a great, I feel like, spot because it's very accessible for you to drive to many different states and kind of explore that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky because like you said, I'm in Western New York, so it's only about maybe like an hour to go to Erie, Pennsylvania, and an hour and a half to go to Ohio. So this past week I was in Pennsylvania twice, just
wow,
for fun.
That's the dream.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm bored. What am I going to do? Time to go south. Like, and just keep driving. I'm very lucky that way, but it's funny because like whenever I say I'm from New York, everyone just assumes I'm from the city. And like you're from the city, so like you kind of get it. But yeah. I am probably about like 8 hours away from you.
I feel that a lot because I feel like, to what your point earlier, a lot of the paranormal haunted, there's certainly stuff in New York, don't get me wrong, in New York City, but there's so much if you have the ability to have a car and drive out a few hours, which I don't have. We don't have a car. We live in the city. And like, for example, I'm obsessed with Lilydale and I want to go to Lilydale so badly, but it feels like, right, it's like so close, but it feels like I'd have to like fly to Buffalo and rent a car. It's like, it's so hard to logistically figure out how to get there. So I am very jealous of where you're positioned and kind of the access that you have to things.
That's really funny that you mentioned Lilydale because I've lived in Western New York for all of 31 years now. And I've only just recently went to Lilydale.
Oh, you went. Can you tell me everything? How was it?
So I actually was jumping on a filming weekend with my friends in Haunted Nights. We did an event on a Friday night, and then the rest of the weekend it was just us filming, and we didn't really know where we were gonna go. So on the way to Dunkirk, because we were going to the Dunkirk Lighthouse, and we were trying to like start heading home, we stopped at Lilydale because the guys rented a room at the one haunted house there, or the one haunted hotel. It's a very, very peaceful place. We definitely didn't like get to do any of like the inspiration stump or like any of that type of stuff, but we walked around. It was very, very peaceful. If you ever get a chance to go, I highly suggest it. Like, it's more active in the warmer months, and like there's some psychics who live that, like, it's a psychic community if you don't know what it is. So there are some psychics who just accept walk-ups, or you have to book. So it's kind of just like you can go for the day and like you never really know what you're gonna get. So like that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so fascinated by it. My family has like a long history with spiritualism. And so it's kind of like this like ultimate destination where like we have like me and my mom, like we have to go to Lilydale and like just, you know, like book with a psych, but it feels overwhelming to do a whole trip. But someday we will go for sure.
I'm manifesting it for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is going to seem like a silly question to ask you, but I'm going to do it anyway, because we ask everybody on our podcast when we have guests if they've had a paranormal experience. I know that you've talked to me about them before, but if you had sort of one paranormal experience that you were going to say to somebody like Alan, say, who's like super skeptical, as kind of like your like, you know, party trick paranormal story, which one would you say?
There's like 4 that come to mind right now, and I think I told you guys the one for one of your episodes. So I'm gonna go with the second one that's jumping in my head right now, and it's maybe the most recent. Over the summer, it was the weekend of the filming weekend when we went to Lilydale. We had an event at West Virginia State Penitentiary. It was like our last time there for the year, and we were all hanging out, and it was towards the end of the night. At one point, we were all hanging out and they all looked at me and they're like, hey, we have handcuffs. Let's handcuff you for a solo for 10 minutes. And I was so against it. I wanted no part of it because they wanted to put me in like Red Snyder's cell.
Do they literally mean handcuffing you?
Yep. I bitched and moaned the entire time and I was like, I don't want to do this. But yet I was still walking to like go do it. We get in the cell and I sit on the bed and I pull my feet up because I'm terrified of something pulling my feet underneath. My friends put the handcuffs on me, so I was handcuffed to the bed. So everyone left. I was just me. They were all like, we're just going to hang out in the courtyard. We're right there. Just yell if you need us. And little did I know, my friend Dylan was in the cell next to me getting ready to scare me because everyone loves to scare me. They learned that they could scare me at Waverly, so like it was game over after that.
Sure.
I thought everyone left, and I have a video of this. I haven't posted it yet, but it's coming soon. I feel like maybe like this is the podcast I have to post it for. I had my phone set up like on the little sink and I was like doing like this little monologue like, hey, so my friends left me like handcuffed in Red Snyder's cell and there was this huge pound on the door and like you could see me jump and then my friend Dylan jumps out and he was like, it was me. And I was like, you effer, like get out of here. And then as I was yelling at him, at one point I was like, are you going to let me do this or what? And then you just hear, boom. And he goes, that wasn't me. And I go, so that was Steve? And he goes, I'm the only one in here. And you're locked in here. So like that moment, I have it all on camera. I have Dylan standing in the door saying it wasn't him. And then you have probably a minute of me trying to process it all. It was just like, oh, so it was Steve. And he goes, no, everyone's outside. And I'm just like, well, what do you mean? And like the reality of like me being handcuffed, sitting in this thing, like in the cell, was like really setting in. And then he bolted, so I was like literally alone. Thank God nothing really happened after that. It was like a quiet EVP session, but that bang and because like I felt the vibration on my back.
Yeah. Oof.
Like that had to be someone. He's like, nope, everyone's outside except for me.
Wow. If this isn't quite enough chaotic horror and history content to scratch your itch, consider joining our Patreon. We have a ton of fun creating bonus episodes, writing essays that explore some of our favorite horror topics, and presenting spooky classic literature. Plus, all new members get a welcome package in the mail, a lifetime discount to our merch store, and new stickers whenever we have new designs to share. Head to patreon.com/lunaticsproject to join. That's wild. That's so scary. Are you very jumpy?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
So my day job, it kind of wore out my nerves because I was working in a behavior room for kids with special needs. So I was always kind of like in a fight or flight mode. And now after getting out of the classroom, my nerves are coming down from it. But then they realize that they can scare me. And I'm so in my head that like, I don't really like see it coming. So I'm always so jumpy, so they can just get me whenever they want.
I am the same. And people always give me flack. They're like, don't you love horror? I'm like, yeah, but I'm still very scared all the time. So Yeah, it is my reality.
Yeah, I'm like a ghost hunter who's like kind of afraid of the dark, but like won't admit it. I'm just like afraid of the unknown. Like if it's darkness inside my house, I like it, but if it's like unfamiliar darkness, I'm like, I don't want any part of that.
That's fair. Okay, so when you were just talking, you sort of inspired me to wonder. You go on a lot of investigations. How often do you feel like you encounter activity? Is it every time? Is it less frequent than that?
So reality of it is that you are not going to get paranormal activity everywhere you go every single night. There are times where we walk away with a lot of stories. There are times where we don't at all. And that's completely okay because to me, that's the beauty of the paranormal because it literally is the unknown. So if you have an experience one night and you go back and nothing happens, then that kind of like builds credibility for like the first thing to happen.
Right.
I'd say like it's kind of like an even 5, like on a scale of 10 from like 1 to 10. It's kind of neutral because I'm also a firm believer that it's all in the energy you bring into it too. So
interesting.
With the different like groups of people that come in, can that add to the activity? Can that take away from it? So I feel like there's a lot of different factors, but I would say like an even 5.
Okay, I love that. That feels like a really honest answer.
Say that like the paranormal shows that you see out there, those are all produced. So like, of course, I personally like Kindred Spirits as a paranormal show to watch because you can kind of see it break off in the like, you know that they're there for like a week and like you can see the different day to day investigations, but like when it's just like an episode of Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters, they're really there for like 2 nights, and if they don't get something, like they kind of, I don't want to say fake it, but like they kind of have to like blow up the things that like aren't really there.
Alan works in film and TV full time, and he has worked on a ghost hunting show before. He's not said, I actually don't even know which one it was, but probably because he doesn't remember, but that's why he's so skeptical of them, because he's like, I've been on them and I see how it's produced. And so he's like, I wouldn't put all of he's like, I'm sure sometimes it's real, but sometimes they're on the hook to make good TV, and that's their job. Right. So it's, I understand the duality of it.
And I kind of feel like that's what's happening in like the YouTube world now, because YouTube is like YouTube paranormal is kind of a big thing with like the Sam and Colby crowd. So like you have people who are like, oh my God, this place is insanely haunted, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, but they're only here for like a set amount of time, and they know that they have to make an episode. And there's a few little tips and tricks that like you can do. Like the REM pod will go off if like someone hits a walkie. You're like, if you get a text message, like your K2s will go off. Like, so I'm not saying that they're faking it, but I'm also saying that there's a lot of good entertainers out there and they know what they're doing. And there's a part of me that respects them for knowing what they're doing, but also at the same time, it's like, stop misleading everyone.
Right. It's a very delicate line to balance. Yeah. How do you think about and define the paranormal? Like, I know that's a loaded question, but I liked what you were saying earlier about the energy of the people who are there influences it. Like, how do you think about what you believe to be the paranormal?
Oh, this is such a fun question. So my 2 theories kind of like lead into one, I guess you can say.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm a firm believer about, the energy and the energy imprints that we leave behind, because energy just doesn't go away. And if you think about the theories in the past, like the stone tape theory, how energy embeds itself in like limestone or like quartz and stuff and then replays itself. But I also love playing with this idea that what if we're the ghosts? And what if we are making these hauntings mainly because of time slips and also our energy too? So you kind of have to think about it in a residual type of thing. Say you and I were going to a place like Waverly Hills. What if we rounded the corner and all of a sudden we were transported back into the 1930s or, the height of tuberculosis? And in that moment, we were in this like time slip where we saw a glimpse of like a nurse. And then she saw us too and was like, who are they? So she goes back to her friends and tells a story, and we end up becoming the ghost story that we hear about so many years ago. It's this huge rabbit hole that you can go down. Whenever there's like a dull moment in like an investigation, this is what we throw out to like get everyone's mind going. So there's that in like terms of like being paranormal, but also in the energy of being residual, where we just throw our energy out there. Like when you're really mad or, you're really sad, it leaves an imprint. And then over time, things are just right in the universe to get that to play over and over again.
Yeah. That's actually very similar to my like uneducated theories on the paranormal, because I also believe like, how do you destroy the energy of somebody, right? Like it feels like, there's so much more to us than our bodies. So when our body dies, it doesn't mean every bit of us dies. And I also feel like the same way, like the way energy can imprint on a space, especially around like if a very traumatic thing happens. I think it was actually, not to plug a big franchise, but there was an episode of Ghost Hunters that sort of opened my eyes to this when I was a little kid watching it, around like some woman's ghost, like a Victorian era ghost. It was like Princess Penelope. It wasn't that, but something like that. And they would always catch her. Like all of the people would report hearing her say the same thing. And so it's this idea of like, okay, well, maybe it is even like a haunting of somebody that's like aware that they're a haunting, or it's just like a piece of energy that was left and caught right in this bed or this room or whatever. So yeah, I love thinking about things that way too.
Well, there's that. And then if you want to spin off of that, you can also go into thought forms and egregores and how we create hauntings that way, because also, not to like want to throw out more paranormal shows, but Kindred Spirits does a wonderful job of putting this to the, like, I think it's called like the Philip theory or something like that, to the test, where they create a ghost and, they're like, it's this name. He likes playing with the K2 meter. Like, he likes playing with the ball, like type of thing. And like when they went back to investigate after they were just talking about it, they started getting hits based on like what they were saying.
Right.
Who truly knows what the paranormal is, if I'm being honest?
Yeah.
We all have this idea of what it could be, but we are so far from it, and I don't think we ever will truly know what is on the other side until our tragic, fateful day.
Yeah. Everyone who listens to this podcast is going to roll their eyes when I say this, but it's like, because I say it all the time, but it's like from the film, The Mothman Prophecies, which might actually be a John Keel quote, I don't know, but they say in the film, like, it's like humans understanding the paranormal is like trying to explain physics to a cockroach. It's like we just don't have the capacity to understand what it is. The same way like a cockroach or a bug doesn't have the capacity to understand physics. Like it's just like beyond. And also similar to the Mothman, it's like like what you're just talking about, like thought forms and like tulpas. Like you have this whole community who starts to believe in this thing. Is that what's feeding into it and making it happen? Like it's so fascinating.
That's honest. It's probably like what the fact that it's so unknown is probably like my favorite thing about the paranormal. Like, yeah, I love history. I love the dark lore and the stories that are attached. Some of them are very, very heartbreaking and tragic, but they also deserve to be told. But then there is this side to the paranormal where you can let your mind wander and it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. And it's like an exercise in accepting the fact that we don't know, and that's like part of the fun. Like you cannot figure it out, so let's just like go with it and see what happens.
Yeah. And I know like I think it was maybe like the end of like last year, there was this huge debate on Twitter where it's like, we want answers, we want the truth. And it's like, well, what if like you can't get the truth? No one knows what we're doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for like 10 years, 13 years probably. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, that's actually a perfect segue, because I'm curious how you got into paranormal investigation. Have you ever listened to an episode of Lunatics Radio Hour and thought, man, I'd love to wear a shirt or carry a tote bag that represents my interest in this very niche topic?
I know I have.
Well, if you're in the market for a doppelganger-themed tank top or a Bloody Mary tote bag, we've got you covered. Head to lunaticsproject.com and click on merch to browse our haunting and highly specific merch store.
So, the paranormal and, like the weird side of life was always a constant to me. I grew up around cemeteries. I came from my grandma was very Catholic. So, I grew up going to Catholic school. So that kind of like added into like my curiosity. But it wasn't until like I was, I want to say like 7 years old, when I randomly woke up in the middle of the night and looked out my window. And on the bottom right corner of it, I saw a face. And I knew it was impossible that someone could be outside looking at my window because I was second story. There was no way to get to it. Like, there was no balcony or anything like that. So I just remember being so freaked out by it. And I hid behind, like, my dresser or something. And what was, like, 5 minutes felt like forever. And then, like, I jumped into bed, never told a single soul about it. And then about, like, a year, maybe year or two later, the paranormal shows started coming out. So I got really, really involved in ghost hunters. I loved it to no end. And I just remember being like, I want to do this. I want to do this in any way, shape, or form. I didn't have my first investigation until, I want to say, like, maybe I was like a sophomore in high school. And it was actually at the Buffalo Central Terminal with Steve Tango from Ghost Hunters. And then, and then John Zaffis. I was like on cloud nine. I remember John Zaffis was like, oh my God, that's such a great question. When I asked like the spirit box, like what the ghost birthday was. And I was like, this is it. This is my legacy. But then like after that, it was kind of just trying to like drag friends to do this. Like a lot of my childhood friends like did not want any part of the paranormal. I was always that bad influence at the sleepovers, doing like
Same.
Bloody Mary and stuff. I was like, come on guys, like what's the worst that can happen? But like then I found a few like other friends, and you know, like we did it when we could, but then like after high school I kind of focused on, you know, like just following a bunch of shows and, you know, like just being like a young 20-year-old, not even caring about this side. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit that I kind of was forced to like go inward, and, you know, I escaped to all of the haunted locations we had around here just to like go take a drive and go into the cemeteries and stuff. So that would lead to like the Ghoul Guide and stuff. So I kind of like got away from it, and then like it came back to me in like a beautiful way.
I love that. That's like such a great story. And I totally understand, like, you know, me and Chris from Buried Secrets, like we spent so much time walking in cemeteries once vaccines and things were available for COVID, because it's like there's nowhere else to go, you know, especially in New York. Like we were like, that's the green space we can go to and nobody is there, you know.
I just remember looking outside my window and just being like, I just want to go. I just want to do something. I would just get in the car and drive, and you know, like I would just end up taking back roads, and it would like lead me to rolling hills, and I'd be like, oh, I love this place. It's like one of like my first places I investigated, and then like I found myself at Gudelberg and all these other cemeteries around me, and like that summer I had this like nagging idea where it's like, all right, you like writing, you like going traveling, and you know all the ghost stories around here, like why don't you go find people that want to do this? And then Instagram happened, and the rest is history.
It's so great. It's so great. I'm such a big fan. I'm so glad that you found it. And you're also, I should say, you're such a good writer. You've lent us a few stories over the years, and your work is in some of the articles you've written in the Feminine Macabre are so well written. And it makes it very easy. Like Alan, every time we read your stories, Alan is like, I get this. I can understand this. And it's like so good. It's so great.
I think that's just like the creative eye I have in me. Like I never really spoke about it before, but like now like my work is out there with like all my reels and like the photography with Instagram and like the writing stuff. I'm just like, I never realized how like detailed and like detail oriented and like how I feel like I write more for emotion and like to just like have emotion kind of like, I don't know, when I write, I want you to picture being there. Like I want you in my shoes, kind of feeling what I was feeling in that moment.
Well, you do a great job. It definitely works. It definitely works. Yeah. Okay. This is also probably an annoying question, but bear with me. For people listening who maybe have not watched Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures and are less familiar, what are some of like the tools and the things that you use on paranormal investigations, and like what would you suggest is like a great like 101, you know, like if I wanted to go for the first time to like investigate, show up at one of the things you're doing and not look like a total loser, like what are the things that like a basic paranormal investigator should have and know how to work?
Well, honestly, I will say you don't really need equipment. Your biggest tool is your body. I am the type of person who likes to just kind of sit and listen. Sometimes when you sit and listen and you don't even bother investigating and you kind of just like put it in the back of your mind and you're just there hanging out with friends, that's when things pop off. In my head, it's kind of like you're letting the building warm up to you being in it too. instead of just going in there and being like rapid firing questions, trying to explain equipment to an airspace that might have a ghost in it or not. So I just feel like that. So like your body is your biggest, most like the best tool you can have. And then secondly, I would say your phone. You have a camera, you have a video camera on there. You also have voice memos for digital recordings. You would be surprised the amount of times that I still whip out my phone and, record off of it. My friend Mark ended up getting a really, really cool EVP off of it that he had no idea until like playback. Wow. You kind of have to like think outside the box and like, trust me, I always say that like I am a ghost hunter who hates equipment, but I just kind of don't like how pricey they are. And just to me, how are we to know that like this equipment actually really works? Like in terms of like the EMF fields and all that. So I kind of like to go very basic. Also cat balls. So like I said, thinking outside the box, a lot of people love these motion censored cat balls that you can find on Amazon. I think I got like a pack of like 11 for like $5. You put them on, you throw them on the floor, and sometimes they go off. They go off by themselves. Could be a ghost, could not be. Who knows? And then the only real piece of equipment I would recommend is maybe a digital recorder. Plain and simple.
Amazing. Okay, so that makes it feel very accessible and doable for people.
Like you have one on your phone, but like a brighter flashlight might be...
Especially if you're recording and stuff on your phone, it's good to have a separate flashlight. Yeah. Okay, that's a great thought. Wow. Okay, that makes it feel very possible.
A whole bunch of like apps and stuff that you can get on your phone. I know some, like I think some you might have to pay, some are free. Take them with a grain of salt. We don't really know how it all works. But I'm also not here to like rain on anyone's parade. If you want to use equipment and you want to use apps, go for it. I hope you get something. If you don't want to use that stuff or think it's overly priced, like I kind of do, that's cool too. And you can think outside the box. This girl, Alex, who was actually on Living for the Dead on Hulu, fantastic show, she actually builds her own stuff. So a lot of people in the community are building their own equipment. I know this other girl, Lauren, she's actually doing workshops to like show you how to build your own like REM pod or like proximity sensor. So like there's other outlets and stuff that you can like look at instead of like the traditional like ghost equipment. That's once again like thinking outside the box type of thing.
Yeah. You actually just reminded me because a few years ago, Chris from the Buried Secrets podcast introduced me through Hellier to the Estes method, which I didn't know. I was talking to Alan about it and I was like, we got to do this. Like for our 100th episode, we were going to this like haunted hotel. I'm like, we got to do like something to investigate it. Like, what are we going to do? And so I was trying to explain to him like what a spirit box is. And he works in sound. And he was like, we have a radio. Like, we don't need to buy a spirit box. Like, we could do this with a radio. Like, you could also download an app on your phone that scans radio channels. Like, you don't need to like have this specific thing that does it. There's free options left and right to do it. And I was like, oh, great. He solved the problem for me.
And if you don't even want to do the Estes method, you can even, I think there's a YouTube video out that shows you and even tells you what to buy, where you can make your own spirit portal. And it can cut out the annoying scanning sounds. Yeah. And it can just be like a geophone where the voices pop up here and there. So like, gotcha. You just sit there and listen to it. And like, you'll hear the voices come through.
Yeah. The story is like, don't let price be like a blocker, not having the fancy things. Because if you just go to YouTube, you can probably find a tutorial on how to do it.
Yeah. Or honestly, even look at like Marketplace and stuff. Don't you dare go to eBay and like try to like look up a DR's. There's this digital recorder. It's called the DR60. It's from the 1990s and it's discontinued. People think it's a piece of crap. It's very controversial. They want, I think the lowest asking price I saw was like $1,500. Do not.
Oh my God. Wow.
There's other recorders out there. And like, all my friends have them. Trust me. I'm in like the I wish I had one club, just like everyone else. But
yeah,
it's not really worth it. I have this feeling that I'm going to like manifest it and like find it in a Goodwill for like $3. Right. Like, yeah, I'm that delusional.
No, I think that's great. That's like a firm boundary too of like, this is the way I'll find it. Yeah.
And like I said, you have it on your phone. You would be surprised the amount of things you can catch on your phone.
I'm curious, do you believe, like, so growing up, right, when our parents both, it sounds like, were like, stop doing Ouija boards, it's like, do you have a thought that, yeah, like my mom was like, you're letting demons in the house. Would you investigate your house, or do you feel like that's like playing with fire in a place you want to keep safe?
I see. The thing is that I think it's already haunted because I live by I live by cemeteries and stuff. I don't know if it's anything that from me or like from the
Right.
cemeteries or stuff. So I think I don't know. I don't think I'd ever really investigate my house. I don't think it's more of like the fact that, like I want it to be like my safe space, because
Right.
I really don't mind. I just don't think I want to. Like, it's just one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like, I'm good.
This is like my big question that I'm like so excited to talk to you about. You go to many places. We have established that. First question of many about these places that you explore. What is your favorite? What is like, of the places you've been to, this is my ultimate place to investigate and it just feels the best to me?
The one that's coming instantly to my mind is Waverly Hills. And I think that's mainly because that's been my number one spot ever since I was like 8 years old. Having the chance to investigate it probably I think 6 or 7 times now within like the last couple of years, it has kind of felt like home. It has a very, very peaceful feeling to it. And a lot of people don't really think that it would, mainly because of the history that it has. But I don't know, just I don't know if it's because of like all the memories we made there intertwined with like the energy that's there too. But it's just I don't know. I haven't had a bad time at Waverly. Like, even when like the activity was very low and like nothing was really going on, I was just happy to be there. Like the first time we ever investigated it, I remember like pulling up in my car and just being like, if the ghosts don't say hi tonight, I'm good. I'm okay
Yeah.
that I drove 8 hours to just be here, because I just want to be in the space. I think that's the top one.
Waverly is like my bucket list. I've never been. We actually have an episode from the pandemic on, or maybe a little after the pandemic, but on the history of Waverly. And then we had a friend who lives closer geographically. He actually went, and he's a skeptic. And he was like, I had an experience. I need to talk to you about it. So he came on the podcast and like told us, but like his partner was really into it. So she sort of like dragged him there. And then he ended up, of course, having like an experience.
Yeah. Like the first time we were ever there, my friend Steve, who I've become really, really close friends with, he just did a call out on Instagram, was like, hey, I booked this date. There's like 9 other spots open if you want it. And I think like within like him posting that story on Instagram, within 30 seconds, I was like, what's your Venmo? I was like, what's your Venmo? I wanted. And that first night, we ended up having one of the most one of the experiences that I feel like I've been talking about it forever, and I always mention it, but it was when the door slammed on us in the body shoot when we were
Oh my
completely
God.
alone. So it was me and 3 other girls, and we ran away from the other group. They all had no idea where we went, and I think they were like up 2 floors on the other side of the hospital. I thought they had their walkie on. They didn't. We were down in the body chute, and if you don't know what it is, it's this long tunnel that was first used for construction, but then as the death rates for TB got really bad, they started pushing the bodies out of there, so the patients didn't actually know how many people were dying. So we got down there, and we were just taking pictures and kind of just being funny and just hanging out, and I was up right like on the first stair, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I couldn't stop looking over my shoulder towards the only exit and entrance. I was like, something's going to pop out there. Like, I don't know what it is. And we're going to have to run down and we're going to be stuck. And we're all just kind of hanging out. Someone said that they want to do a digital recorder session. So I put mine down. Someone was like, I think someone heard the echo and they're like, oh yeah, never mind. So I was like, I don't care. I'm going to leave mine down there. And then after that, one of the girls said that they heard a whisper come from down the far end of the tunnel. So I finally broke my attention away from the door, and as my recorder flipped over to a minute, it was just pure silence, and all you just hear is boom, and all of us just start screaming bloody murder. One of them was like, what was that? I think I was like, I don't know. And like me and this other one just took off running, And we like went to the sound, and after we figured it out that it was the emergency exit door and the motion light was on outside, there was like no one around.
Oh my God.
We tried radioing the people, like the other group, were like, hey, like, where are you guys? Like, nothing came through. And so I gave it a minute. We all like kind of collected ourselves, and we started walking. And at one point I was just trying to be funny because like we were still radioing them and we weren't hearing anything. And I was like, you can't ignore me. Like, just radio me. And I don't know if the ghost heard that as like a challenge, because after that door slam and after that moment, it kicked off like this last hour of just pure chaos within the building.
Oh my God.
We were hearing giggling and chairs moving. Like, it sounded like metal on metal. And at one point I thought it was like the body tray coming out. And I was like, we have to go down there. But it wasn't. But it sounded like the chair outside of the door. At the very end of the night, we did what was called the Waverly Challenge, where you're supposed to walk floor by floor by yourself without a flashlight.
Nope.
I wanted no part of it. Like, part of me was like, yeah, let's totally do it. And I'm just like, I'm dying. So three people, they walked out of like the green room we were in, and they started the challenge. And me and these two other girls, we were going to do it, but like we were going to do it as like just the three of us together. And we didn't know where the other group went. So we got our stuff and we were on the first floor, and I radioed them like, hey, we're about to start. Little did I know that they were up on the 5th floor waiting for us, and they heard me, like they heard my voice, and saw flashlights in the stairway, thought we were coming up. We never came up, and then they heard the radio come in saying, was like, hey, it's me. We're going to start on the 1st.
That's so freaky.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Most recently, we were there last March. We were getting ready to like wrap up the second night of events that we had there, and we were saying goodbye to like our last guest, and this was like probably like 4:30 in the morning, so we were all exhausted. And we had all our stuff in our hands, and we go to like start walking down the hallway, and you just hear this blood curdling scream. It was like a female. I like just, my face dropped, and I go, oh no, like that's our tour guide, because she wasn't old, but she was like older. I thought she got hurt. I was like, you guys have to go check on her. Like, we can't leave. So we were all about to go walk down the hallway into the actual like patient rooms where we heard the scream. And right as we get to the doors, the tour guide comes out with paper towels in her hands, and she's like, what's going on? You guys look like you saw a ghost. And we're like, are you good?
We did.
Yeah. We're just like, are you good? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. What's going on? We're like, you didn't hear that scream? She's like, no, but you guys can go check it out if you want.
Oh my God. Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. So she ended up taking the group that we were like trying to like get out, like the tail end of our friends. She ended up taking them down to the hill so they could get out of the gate. And we took that time to walk the entire hospital to make sure we didn't leave anyone behind, and no one was there. So I don't know where that scream came from. No, like from what I know, no one was outside. So Waverly knows how to like leave you with a story or two.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's got to be like my 2024 goal, is to go. I really want to go. It's enough is enough. Now is the time.
You have to.
I have to. Okay. Now, next question on locations. That's your favorite that you've been to. What's like your bucket list location that you haven't been to yet?
Oh, so there's actually two. So in the top 3, there's only one place I haven't been able to cross off yet, and that's Penhurst State School in Pennsylvania. That one has been on my list for a number of years, and I kind of don't even want to go there to investigate. I kind of just want to go there to be there.
Right.
It's one of those places where I know it's haunted. It doesn't need to prove itself to me. It's just been a place that's so embedded into my life, because like I said before, I was a teacher or a teacher aide for kids with special needs. I have people with special needs in my family. So like that whole history, and even just, I don't want this to come off like me, I don't know, like mean or anything, but like the history of what we did to people in asylums and institutions fascinates me, because I truly don't understand how one person can do that to another person, and I don't think I will ever be able to understand that. So just being there and being in that space and kind of like paying my respects to those people is something that I want to do. Like I would love to investigate it, don't get me wrong, and I probably will, but my main goal of going there is to like pay my respects and just to be in the space. And as someone who was in the field, I feel like I can connect more. So there's that. But I would say the number 4th spot is the Winchester Mystery House.
Oh, I've been there. Ah.
That one has been on my list. And my friends have gone a couple times this year. And I'm just so jealous.
Okay. Very cool. I feel like I'm in the community now because I've been there. It's very cool. I would love to talk to you about it after you go because I actually have fairly strong opinions on it. But I wouldn't want to say anything to like spoil any of it. So once you go, we'll chat again.
Hopefully this summer, if everything lines up, hopefully a trip out there this summer will work.
You know what's truly horrifying? Not having a bed. It's something most of us take for granted, but over 1.5 million kids in the US have to sleep on the floor because they don't have a bed. We're working with Luff Sheets to help spread the word about what their company is doing. For every set of sheets they sell, they donate another set to organizations that build beds for kids. This is super important. You can't grow an appreciation for that creeping feeling of monsters lurking under the bed if you don't have a bed in the first place. Beyond being a good for humanity company, they actually make a pretty decent set of sheets, all 5-star reviews and super affordable. So please check out our sponsor, Luff Sheets, at fallenluff.com, spelled Luff. Please use the code LUNATICS for 15% off and to help support your favorite horror history podcast.
Amazing. Okay.
If it does, I'll FaceTime you and just sob.
Please. I would love to chat about it. That would be amazing. Okay, those are great. And then do you have any like locations outside of the US or are you mostly kind of like interested in exploring the US?
Oh, no, I would actually love to go overseas. Actually in 2020, I think it was 21, I was supposed to go to Romania.
That's my dream.
Yeah. I want to say 2019, I did a trip overseas and I was in London for the ball drop. So I spent New Year's Eve there and I was like, holy cow, I really want to do this again. So I ended up booking a trip a couple months later to go back to Ireland and like go down like the south of it because that's where I was before I went to London. And then COVID hit. So I couldn't go. Yeah. And then I used that money to go to to book a trip to Romania and they suckered me in with Dracula's castle. And I was just like, honest, like, really? Really, we're going to do this? Say no more. So I paid and then everything went down and I couldn't go. But that is one of like the top ones for the outside the US, mainly because I remember being like, I don't know, probably 10 watching Scariest Places on Earth. And the family that they sent to Romania was actually from Buffalo. So I just have this like vivid memory of everyone watching at my house and like we were down in the basement and I'm just like, that's going to be me. I'm going to go there. We're going to do it.
That's great. Those are perfect. Yes, I have the same. I'm always sending Alan. I'm like, look, we could get this all inclusive because I'm not gonna like drive around Romania, so I need to be on a tour because I don't have the skill set to even drive around the U.S. I'm not gonna be like, sure, let me drive in a foreign country. So I'm always like looking for like group tours through like Dracula's castle.
I think I did like. It was like some like ultimate break one. I kept hearing about it on the radio when I was working this one odd job. And I was like, this sounds so fake. And then I looked it up and I was like, all right, hold on now. I mean, I would hope that, like the universe lines up where I can do that or just go back to Ireland again. Ireland was really fun. Spike Island there and Leap Castle, one of them. Just the history and the folklore over there is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's so cool. And that's what draws me to it as well. Like, even if you don't have a paranormal experience or something doesn't have a paranormal history, like it's so fascinating. It's actual history and dark and so many things that it's like endlessly fascinating.
I heard a quote the other day where it's like, the truth is stranger than fiction. And I was like, that is so true though. And I think I heard it like right after I listened to like a Bobby Mackey story. And I was like, honestly, this is so true when it goes to the story of Pearl, because the story of like what actually happened to her was so much stranger than what the legend is.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever had an experience, whether during an investigation or otherwise, that stands out as bizarre? Like, obviously everything in the paranormal is like unexplained and question mark, but something that was just like bizarrely different from other experiences that you've had.
This is a good one, because now I'm trying to like think back to like all the experience I've had, and I'm like, is that one bizarre enough? The two that are coming to my mind right now, I will say the one was from Waverly, and it happened last year, mainly because I've always heard about like people seeing people like actually standing there. I'm a firm, like, I want the experience of seeing a person in the flesh standing there and then just vanishing. Like, I want that full body apparition like that. And Waverly kind of gave me like a half body apparition. So what was really bizarre to me in that moment was me and my friend Dylan, we were doing the events this year. So we had a free roam type of event, and, we were just doing rounds, making sure everyone was doing okay. So we were walking around without a flashlight, and we were walking up and down the hallway, and I was on the terminal side. So I wasn't on the sun porch side. I always have this fear that I'm going to look into a room and I'm going to see someone standing there. And part of me wants that experience, but part of me doesn't, because what am I going to do if someone is actually standing there? I'm probably just going to scream and freak out. I remember walking down the hallway. We were probably like almost by like the first bend, and I looked over, and it looked like there was someone standing there from the waist down with the white gown and like the legs. And within a split second of me just like blinking my eyes and being like, wait, what the hell was that? It was gone. And I looked at Dylan, and I was like, did you see someone standing there? He's like, no. And I was like, oh crap. Like, it's one of those moments where it's so bizarre, where it's like, no one's gonna friggin' believe this. I remember the pattern on the hospital gown. I remember what it looked like. Now that I'm saying this, the one that kind of comes to my mind right now, or the second one that's really, really bizarre, it's one that I like really don't, I've just started talking about because like, I don't know what happened. We were doing the Estes method. We were doing it at the Mid-Orange Correctional Facility in Warwick, New York. So that's about like 60 miles away from New York City. It was a boys' reform school, and then it turned into a medium security prison. And then it got shut down. And now it is kind of like a soccer school. Or they're trying to like make it into dorms again type of thing. It's one of my like top 10 favorite places. And we were in one of the dorms. It was B1. It was probably the first time we were in there. So this was last year. We had two people going under at the same time. I was under with the listening to the spirit box and having the blindfold on. I was under in the hallway. And I think it was Cassie, this girl Cassie. She was in like now it's like a big room, but it held beds along the wall. Like, it was just kind of like a bigger room for the inmates. And she was getting some stuff. And since it's in the Catskills Mountains, you really don't have radio interference, so it's perfect. So I was getting nothing but pure static. And we probably did this at like 3 a.m, so I was starting to fall asleep. And in that moment, I was just sitting there. I was like, it's fine. You know what? I'm just slowly gonna fall asleep. So I started dozing off, and I was like catching myself. And the one instance, I must have been like in like a trance or something. I don't even want to say that because I don't even know what it was. So I was sitting up against the wall, and at one moment it was kind of like a flash of an image, but what I was seeing was the staircase directly by the window, or like by the door where we came in. And I saw someone standing there. Her hand was on the railing. Like, I saw her gripping the railing. So I saw from basically her chest down. She was in like a white shirt. It looks like a black skirt, like tucked in, kind of like an old fancy teacher.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there, and I snapped out of it, and I couldn't even like put it into words. I couldn't hear what was happening around me because I had the noise canceling headphones on. And at one point I was like, hey guys, I don't know what this is, but I had a vision, but something is telling me to pay attention to the staircase. And little did I know that a minute before I said that, the people who were in the hallway were looking at the door in the same area that I saw in like my vision, or whatever you want to call it. They were seeing someone standing there, and they were blocking out the little window, and then it would just sink into the floor.
Whoa.
I don't know who I saw. I think it was the dorm mother, because back in the day, in the reform school days, these troubled youth, they would live in these dorms, and each dorm had like a dorm mother and a dorm father that would look over them. So I think she was poking around that night and didn't really know what we were doing. And I kind of don't blame her for poking around, because this was our first time in like these set of dorms, and I don't think anyone like really goes into them. So yeah, that's probably like one of the most bizarre things I've had happen.
That's so crazy. I mean, the interesting thing too, what I was first hearing when you were talking about it, is like those two stories you just shared were both bottom half almost, or like not head. And I was like, I've never thought about seeing people usually see like a face, like not just like someone's legs. Like that's so interesting.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it too, the first time when I went to Waverly, we all went into, I think it was like the 4th floor hallway, because that's where they say they see like shadows and stuff. But we were all scattered. So like, I think I like told everyone to kind of like go in like a zigzag so we can like space out, not seem like so intimidating. I was looking behind this my friend Mark, and it looked like someone with a walker. That's the only way I can describe it. Like someone like having like a walker, and they were like walking with it. And once again, I could see the bottom. I could see their legs.
Wow,
Maybe
interesting.
it's just something with me. I just can only see like the bottom half. That's fine. I don't need to see anymore.
I love it though. It's so interesting too. I think like the vision piece, because it also sounds like you have, not to define your experience, but you have like this almost like spiritual meditative way of approaching all of this too. And you're aware of like energy. And so I like the idea of the vision and how that could be like a way that people are communicating with you, right? Or whatever it is communicating with you, because you're open-minded to it.
Yeah, and like in that moment, I was like, I think I made that up. Like, and I know for a fact, like I saw what I saw. Like it is so embedded in my mind, and like there's still a moment where like I completely made that up. But then like I rewatched Hellier, where they started doing the thing and the whole tin can thing. I was like,
yeah, all
right, maybe I didn't make this up then. Like, all right, like this is a thing. So I mean, I don't know, but I was talking with someone, and they were like, yeah, I think you've kind of found yourself like in a trance type of thing where, I mean, it makes sense, because I was listening to nothing but pure white noise. And
right.
I mean, I was already exhausted at that point. So I think like everything lined up perfectly for me to see that. And now in this year, I'm like stuck trying to like chase that, because I just want that whole thing again. I just maybe just a little bit longer this time.
Yeah. No, totally. I love it. It feels like addicting in a way. Like, you know, once you like sort of accept that, okay, there's stuff happening, like now I'm eager to like see where else it could go.
Yeah. Like once I have my little freak out about it and get over with it, like there's something there. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. My last question for you. Actually, I have two more, but my last question on the paranormal. I imagine, because I feel like I sometimes post videos about hauntings and history, and I get a lot of pushback. Do you get a lot of pushback from people who are skeptics? And if so, how do you approach that? Or do you sort of say like, that's your world, this is my world, and that's fine?
So I feel like it's more of like the second of what you said. There are moments where the pushback I seem to get comes from like whenever I post evidence. And that is so far and few between, really. Like now that I think about it, I really don't post that much evidence. I post EVPs. I really don't post, like, if anything, I kind of like try to go live and investigate when we're together, or like when we have the moment. But whatever pushback I get is kind of someone just being like, I don't think it said that. Like, ghosts aren't real.
Right.
Blah. I'm just like, all right, like, come on. In this day and age, if you want to believe that ghosts aren't real, so be it. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be the one to change your mind. Listen, the world is coming to an end soon. Let's just enjoy what we have.
Right. That's what I say. Why don't we enjoy it a little?
Right. Let people just like what they like. I like ghosts. I like thinking I'm talking to the air, thinking that it's talking back to me. I like having the weird things happen. Like, it is what it is. And if that's not your cup of tea, then so be it.
Yeah, I love that.
Just let me tell my little ghost stories in peace.
I love that. You have a great, you have a thick skin. I get very fired up, but I like crave to not. You know, I would love to be like, you know what, that's fine. We believe different things and it's okay.
There are times where things get to me. We're human. It happens. You also have to realize that in this day in like social media, there are a lot of people just hiding behind the keyboards, just wanting to like rain on everyone's parade. And it's nothing is worth it in this day and age.
Yeah, that's true.
You're a mute button away.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Okay, my last question for you, which again, we ask everybody on the podcast. Say, what are your top 3 favorite horror movies? Or do you even like horror?
Oh my God. Yes. So I do,
Okay, great.
but I'm not a movie person. And everyone's like, what do you mean by that? I love watching trailers and being like, oh my God, I love seeing that. Like, I can't wait to see it when it comes out. Like, will I watch it when it comes out? Probably not. But like when I do actually watch movies, like around Halloween, AMC has Horror Fest on. It's background noise all month long. If I had to pick 3 top ones, I would say The Blair Witch Project, Grave Encounters, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay. All right.
A weird 3, but those are my 3 and I'm sticking to it.
No, not strange at all. I mean, Blair Witch Project, excellent. Agree. I've never seen Grave Encounters.
Oh, that is... See, now there's a second one, too. It's not even a mockumentary. It is a spin-off of Ghost Adventures. So if you ever heard me say Grave Adventures, I'm referencing this movie because I constantly get the 2 confused.
Got it.
It's just Grave Adventures to me because they're mocking off Ghost Adventures. I know exactly what they're doing. Got it. But if you're into the paranormal world, think of it like it's a ghost hunting or like, yeah, it's a Ghost Adventures episode that goes wrong. There's a little like cheesy parts to it, but I really like it. It gave me a few good jump scares. Like when I watched it on my laptop for the first time and I was texting someone and I jump scared and like my phone slapped me in my face. I was like, that's incredible. Like you got me there. But yeah, I would recommend it. I watched the second one. I should probably rewatch it again. But I think as a paranormal investigator, it was just fun to see someone finally like take on like this idea of going on a ghost hunt and having things go wrong. So I don't know. I don't want to spoil it too much, but
okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm so excited. It's bizarre that I haven't even heard of it because I feel like I'm always watching horror movies, but I'm going to.
It's kind of like a B film. Like it's not really like indie where like no one's heard of it, but it's also not that like mainstream. I think it was on Netflix.
Okay, I'll report back. I can't wait to watch it. That's so exciting. Courtney, it has been so fun. I feel like this is just part 1 because I feel like this was like the basics and now I want to get into like the advanced level with you because you've taught me a lot. I feel like I'm ready to go into Waverly Hills now with just like my phone and my flashlight and my open-mindedness, and I'm going to accept whatever happens. I sincerely hope that our paths cross in person at some point this year because that would be such a treat. But thank you so much for being on the podcast and talking through all of this. For anybody who doesn't follow Courtney, if it's possible there's anybody, please follow her. It's the Ghoul Guide on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, everywhere you're on social media, right? YouTube, it's the Ghoul Guide.
Ghoul Guide, same handle, same ghoul, same shenanigans.
And Courtney also has incredible merch, which we have some incredible stickers. And every so often she'll do like a Polaroid sale of different kind of haunted Polaroids of these really cool locations, which I also use as bookmarks when I'm reading, and I love them. Yeah. So please follow her on Instagram and everywhere else and kind of keep your eyes open for all this stuff because it's 10 out of 10.
Well, thank you.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Looking for even more creepy content? Consider joining our Patreon for way more content just like this, including bonus episodes and very special deep dives. You can also join us on Discord if you want to stay involved in the conversation, and find our video content on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you like to get your social updates. And of course, head to lunaticsproject.com where you'll find our very, very spooky merch and links to everything you need to know.
Are you upset by our egregious fabrication of facts? Tell us about it on Discord.